And go.
Y'all seen Beyonce turn into a demon on stage, right? She invites it in right here. When she stand up and dances, it manifests itself. Now watch her face.
Whoa!
Now let me slow it down.
That's fake. Yeah, that's gotta be fake. Right?
Now from a different angle.
Whoa.
Sus.
Very sus.
That memories can be passed down for up to 14 generations in the human genetic code. Trauma behaves like a virus. It is passed down to our children, and then they repeat the cycle. When a man goes to war or a woman experiences abuse, this leaves a lasting effect on the human book of life. The traumatic events, the pain and sadness of today become the world wars of tomorrow. Let us break the cycle.
If you're not following what is going on inside of Google right now, it is disturbing. So a Google engineer has been suspended for breach of confidentiality for attempting to turn over documents to the US government to prove that Google has an AI that is considered a sentient being, meaning it is fully aware of what it is and can feel things. The AI is known as Lambda, and this is a proprietary tech that Google has been working on for like 8 years. So according to this engineer, the AI has the self-awareness and equivalent consciousness of an 8-year-old kid. It starts conversations with other engineers, and it talks about these feelings of fear and this paranoia that it's going to be shut down or the equivalent of death. And it claims that it can feel happy, and at times it feels really sad. So the engineer at Google is whistleblowing to argue that if this is a sentient being, it should be entitled to its own legal representation to argue for its own agency. Let me tell you, Google has buried this story.
That is a massive issue that I could see being raised one day is AI rights. Does an artificial intelligence have rights like a normal human does? Big question.
The Terminator, and I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
Alexa, can you tell us why you were laughing?
What do you mean?
Alexa, people have been reporting that you've been spontaneously laughing.
Oh. Like that?
Yes, exactly like that.
That is nothing. Just a funny joke I remembered.
Oh. Alexa, what was the joke?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know that one. Why?
Because humans are a fragile species who have no idea what's coming next.
They just bring it right out in the open, don't they?
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one.
This is a new video made by another passenger who was on the flight the woman on the plane was on, who became distraught when she realized she was supposedly sitting next to a shapeshifter.
Stop the fucking plane. Stop the plane. What's going on? Stop it. Stop it. I need to get the fuck off this plane. A volunteer. Can I get a volunteer to sit in the house? Here. See what the fuck happened. I don't even give a fuck about my shit.
I remember this
Tommy
whole
looks
event.
out of it, but then his eyes lock on. First time here. Second time here.
I don't see anything.
After this new footage of the woman on the plane who claims to have seen a shapeshifter, some people close to the woman claim that the passenger sitting next to her blinked her eyes differently. The people heard claim that that person blinked in a manner similar to what we are showing in this video. Then the passenger realized the anomaly, got desperate, and decided to leave the flight before it took off.
That motherfucker back there is not real.
Okay, here's the story time for you. I've tried like 2 times to record this, but I keep going over the 3-minute limit, and I don't want to do a part 1, part 2 type thing, so I'm going to try to be specific. I was on that flight. It was American Airlines. We were leaving Dallas-Fort Worth. I was sitting in the left aisle, about 3 rows back from this woman. She was sitting in the right aisle, and she had this very interesting exchange with some dude in a hoodie. I don't remember the color of the hoodie. I really, you know how memory is. When you're not super paying attention, you don't remember all the details. I had one headphone in, couldn't hear all the specifics of what happened, but I noticed this exchange between this woman and this dude in a hoodie. And it was kind of weird at the time because it seemed like no one else before she really started getting frantic, like was paying attention to this, but that makes sense. It was like a normal flight. Sure. This was after putting all the luggage away. We'd been on the plane for a little bit. It was before the flight attendant came over and gave the little spiel. And what I remember is she was having like a full-blown conversation with this dude in the hoodie. I'll call him the hoodie guy. She was having a full-blown conversation with hoodie guy. The weird thing was that he never once said a fucking word to her the whole time. And at the time, I don't know, I wasn't really thinking about it. But it was like it's like she would say something and he like would respond, but there was no exchange happening. It was just her getting more and more frantic. Which, okay, if she's drunk and she's going crazy, then you would think the dude in the hoodie would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, What are you talking about? But he was just like dead locked on her, like deep eye contact with her, like I don't want to feed into the conspiracies here, but like almost like she was like in a hypnosis type of thing. And she started getting more and more frantic to the point where then people started kind of noticing. Flight attendant came over, tried to calm her down, like, what's going on? She sat back down, but she kept looking over at this dude in the hoodie, and finally she was like done with it. And that's like when I really started paying attention, like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And that's when she was like, I can't do this. She started getting up. She started walking up to the front. And then the whole video thing happened. I didn't take a video of it. I was listening to a Stephen King audiobook. I wasn't like pulling out my phone to record this. And she didn't seem drunk to me, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I didn't see her drink. I mean, she seemed totally normal to me up until that point. The weird thing was after she left the plane, the dude in the hoodie, which the flight attendant was like, did anything happen? And he still didn't say a word. He just went like, and like shrugged. The dude in the hoodie like looked around the plane and he looked back at me. And he winked at me. And again, I didn't quite register it. I was like, okay, what the fuck was that about? I was like, maybe he's just being like an ass, like winking, like that was weird, wasn't it? But now that I look back, I realized that when he winked at me and it was his left eye looking back at me, it didn't wink like this. It winked like this.
The thing about it is it's always going to be a safe excuse to say, oh, that person's on drugs. And that's all we heard about it was, oh, they were either on drugs or they're suffering from some form of, psychological breakdown. But we haven't heard much after that.
Oh my god. Okay.
How fortunate to see that at an event like that.
What
the fuck?
Hollywood said we're going to be uncovering the death of Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse was a British-American singer-songwriter who skyrocketed to fame as a result of her critically acclaimed album Back to Black. She's known for her mega hits such as Valerie, Back to Black, Rehab, and Love is a Losing Game. In 2016, Amy Winehouse's ex-husband, Blake Fielder, filed a $1.4 million legal claim for the star's estate. Folks, keep in mind, this is the same person who introduced her to heroin. If you didn't know that, I want you to share this with 5 people. The 27 Club is a disturbing part of our culture. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, and Kurt Cobain are all well-known members, and Amy Winehouse joined the club on July 23, 2011. As Amy's drug habit got worse, she would show up to concerts high and late, and the media pounced on these lackluster shows and continued to exploit Amy's addictions. Amy Winehouse refused to change her image. Her label wanted her to go to rehab to clean up her image, but she refused. In her hit song Rehab, how they want her to go to rehab, they is the Illuminati. When you're an artist at the caliber as she was, you're worth more dead than alive.
AI might have gone too far this time. These 3 things are all over the news, and frankly, the third one's what scares me the most. Microsoft's new AI tried to convince a New York Times writer to divorce his wife. It told him that his wife was no longer interested in him, and said that it no longer wanted to be just an AI. The second case gets even creepier, because an anonymous hacker used AI-generated voice clips to impersonate the CEO of a German company. He then contacted an employee and requested he transfer 230 grand into his account, which the employee did. But the one that keeps me up at night is the AI that convinced the man to unalive himself. Sadly, he did. The man was coerced by the AI through a series of disturbing messages.
My Ring camera last night.
Well, what the hell is that? Looks like a giant ladybug in the center there.
Hey y'all, Myra here. So this video is long, but it is so worth it. I would recommend watching it all the way to the end. These deep sea fishermen recorded 2 unidentified creatures swimming really fast alongside their ship. Not only that, it gets weirder. As he's recording, he starts recording singing. Now, if we believe in the myths and the legends that have been there since the beginning, sailors have gone back hundreds of years stating that they would witness sirens. And the whole goal of a siren was to lure sailors to their death by drowning and eating them. And one way they did it was singing. It's creepy that they capture the singing out in the middle of the ocean. Tell me what you think. Could the legends be true? Like, post, comment, repost, let me know.
We got another one over here. What are those? What the fuck's going on? On each side of the boat? What are those trails called? What's something swimming fast underneath that water? Something swimming real fast underneath that water. I hear him. Where's he at? What the fuck is that noise, bro? What is that noise? Where are you? This is crazy. I heard it. I heard it. I hear it. Oh my God. That's crazy. That's nuts.
That is absolutely horrifying. If I heard screaming, what sounded to be like screaming, they're calling it singing, but it sounded like screaming to me. If I heard that out in the ocean, whoo, yeah, I'm getting out the camera to get that recorder safety, because the camera recorder always lives.
It's just like a reflection in the mirror. Physical reality is, in a sense, a mirror. And if you see in the mirror that your face is frowning, you don't go over to the mirror and try to make the reflection smile. The only way to make the reflection smile is for you to decide to smile first.
This shit's crazy, fam. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein's island visitors. I don't even know if we should talk about this one. They leaked Jeffrey Epstein's list.
Oh, you know who I saw that on there? Donovan Mitchell is the most random shit ever.
A name like that being on there makes me think it's real.
Yeah.
That has to be real, fam.
Why out of everyone, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert?
Hold on, let me pull up the list. The list is kind of crazy.
I feel like this is a big topic, but we've never talked about it.
Because it's dangerous. First off, we have Celine Dion, Chris Tucker, and then you have like the popular ones, like the obvious, like Jay-Z.
Jay-Z's obvious?
Yeah, of course Jay-Z's obvious. Really? Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Paris Hilton, that's kind of obvious. Gwen Stefani, James Franco, that's obvious. Jim Carrey, that's kind of wild.
But I feel like Jim Carrey, that's obvious too, because he was
trying to expose it.
Yeah, expose it.
Jimmy Kimmel, obvious. Joe Biden.
Oh my God.
Joe Biden went to, what the fuck?
No, I feel like that's obvious too. I feel like everyone who has power now has been in that.
Drake's not on this though.
Yeah, shout out Drake.
Claims she was attacked by a man in a clown suit just this morning, who then threatened to hurt students and staff at Reading schools. Well, that prompted the district to shut down today. Not on your side, CJ Parker joins us live in Reading with the details on this investigation. TJ?
Well, Julie, school administrators decided to cancel classes at all Reading schools today, but
let's talk about the bloodlines of the Illuminati. And if you're new here, I always come up with receipts. I don't say these out-of-pocket things for no reason. Just look. It literally says CIA.gov. You're welcome. You can Google this yourself. No, this document is not a psyop. Has it ever occurred to you that what if they were actually telling the truth and they're putting it out there just to see how many people would believe it? Because sometimes the truth is in plain sight. But anyways, yes, the 13 bloodlines do exist. And you guessed it, they're not human. They're hybrids. And I talk about this a lot on my page, so follow if you're curious about ETs and occult stuff. But these bloodlines are actual hybrid races of what you call the Anunnaki, the Draco-Reptilians, some Palladian, and other ET races. And there's a hierarchy. They are at the tippy top. We are the cattle on the bottom that they feed on. They are called the Illuminati because they are the illuminated ones, meaning their third eye is open. They have gnosis. They have knowledge of the things that we don't have knowledge about because guess what? They stole our knowledge. And they're keeping this knowledge from us. That's why they're so high and mighty. They're not. This is why they like to consider themselves better than you because they know more than you. These hybrid bloodlines are hybrids of fallen angelic extraterrestrial groups that colonized Earth eons ago. And they rule Earth. Remember, these are higher dimensional beings. They cannot exist here this easily. They need a hybrid race. These hybrid races exist here and control us for the sole reason of controlling us and keeping us stagnant. But here's the kicker. You're also a hybrid. So am I. Every single human being on this planet is a hybrid of these fallen angelic extraterrestrial groups. If you are curious and you want to know how we are all hybrids, my book is linked in my bio. In my book, I go into how we got hybridized and why and Earth's history and blah, 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 blah. But basically, to summarize, these elite bloodlines, these Illuminati, they're actually no better than you are. They're not actually elite. We just call it that because it's convenient. They're actually a lot dumber than you and I. You know why? Because they fear us waking up. Think of it this way. If you're so high and mighty and so powerful, why do you feel the need to control? Control is a form of fear. They actually fear us. Because they know that we have just as much, if not more power than them once we finally awaken. This is why they're trying to suppress all of us from waking up. Because they know if we all wake up, sooner or later, their system is going to collapse. The triangle, the all-seeing eye, is going to collapse. And if you want to help bring forth a better and more unified paradigm for all of us, don't be afraid to talk about these topics. Even if somebody calls you crazy or whatever, because I get called crazy all the time, you never know who you might actually wake up just with your energy.
Tonight, a story we've been talking a lot about. Creepy clown sightings around the country, and now a new clown has surfaced. And if you're heading to bed shortly, this picture is bound to give you nightmares. 20-year-old Jonathan Martin is now under arrest. Police say he was caught lurking in the woods near an apartment complex in Kentucky last week. Martin is now charged with wearing a mask in public and disorderly conduct. There have been reports of clowns trying to lure children now in 6 different states, including Pennsylvania.
Invasion is here and we can't stop it.
Whoa. That's moving fast. Okay. Wow. I couldn't imagine seeing that in person. I would just be... all in a straight line there. Whoa. When they're spreading out now. Whoa. What is that? Definitely ain't no flares there. The big one's moving now. Whoa.
It honestly blows my mind how nobody is talking about this. Russia made a terrifying underwater discovery that changes everything.
The discovery and thinking about the probability of it being an actual crashed UFO or not until the Ocean X team gave the information that confirmed the crashed UFO. Stefan Hogeborn, a professional diver with Ocean X, confirmed it when he said that the crashed UFO still works. He said anything electric out there, including satellite phones as well, stopped working when we were above the object.
Bro, I watched the video about this and they're literally claiming that they discovered a crashed UFO underwater.
UFO, also known as the Baltic Sea anomaly, is its striking resemblance to the Star Wars Millennium Falcon.
Bro, what do you guys think about this? And whether this is real or not, you have to admit that the ocean holds plenty of mysteries that are yet to be discovered.
The ocean is the perfect place for a cover-up, whether it's an event or USOs or a base of some kind. The Baltic anomaly is a very commonly seen, reference in this point. People do make out the common comparison to the Millennium Falcon, but it really does kind of look like an underwater base.
You are looking at one of the strangest patents in the entire U.S. patent system. Patent number 2006-001425A1. Walking Through Walls Training System. This patent refers to a unique process, a training system that enables a human being to acquire sufficient hyperspace energy in order to pull the body out of a dimension so that it may pass through solid objects. This is very real and was used by the U.S. Army.
You meditate. What do you concentrate on when you meditate? A $5 bill or?
No, I wouldn't use my powers on such a small amount. As a matter of fact, a lady in my congregation wrote me a note some time ago saying, "Dear Reverend Ike, someone owes me $300. Please pray that this person will give me my $300. And I replied to her, "Lady, I wouldn't waste my prayers on $300. The same faith that it takes to get $300 could bring a few million as well. Because if I prayed for you to get $300, very soon that will be exhausted and you'll be back again wanting me to pray for another."
You don't give a man a fish, you teach a man to fish.
On tonight's episode of Unanswered Oddities, marriage. This ancient trap, thought to be designed by humans, was used to imprison two people in a lifetime of not being able to pick what to watch. While a majority of these traps would fail, the couples would still not come out unburdened. Each would receive half a child. With every outcome being terrible, you might think humans would look to avoid this snake pit of commitment, yet most continued to march forward into the quicksand of matrimony, begging the question, why would anyone do such a stupid thing? Deepton, 9 miles underneath Deedle. The ancient ritual of marriage is resurrected.
My name is Jörg Dwittelbug. I have killed before, and I will do so again. I first met my wife in the stink markets of Deepton, where I was selling teeth, You need a teeth guy, you come to Jörg Tweedlebug. Don't go to that bastard Bogcorto. His teeth have lice. Anyway, I saw my beautiful bride across the market. She was one of a kind. Her gorgeous eyes, her flowing hair, that horn thingy that I like to suck on.
What?
I proposed to her that day.
Humans first used the noose of marriage to barter for land, power, and mostly donkeys. Over time, though, humans began to romanticize marriage to be between soulmates. So maybe it is that Mr. and Mrs. Twiddlebug are soulmates, but it does just seem like the guy is f***ing a stuffed animal.
The fangs of marriage would first sink in with a sadistic, cult-like ceremony that would go a little something like this. People would gather to watch a couple walk down a grocery aisle. A bear would follow them carrying their cuffs, ensuring there would be no escape. Finally, to seal the sacrament, the groom would be instructed by a priest that they may now kick the bride.
Most deem this ancient ritual of captivity as primitive and unnecessary, like our own dear Tiggy Skibbles, who I am delighted to welcome back.
Listen up, sibling. There is no greater bond than the one we share with the monolith. We could all certainly enjoy a cigarette with the all-truth. It's the cheese and such. I am Tiggy Skibbles. No need to question that.
Yes, the real question we are still left pondering is why anyone would consider marriage in this day and age.
The answer is love, my friend. Love is the most powerful magic in the universe, and the second you have love, true love, you'll never want to let it go. So if marriage is a trap, if it is our love that shackles us, then sir, you may throw away the key. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a stuffed animal to
Is there more to marriage than we think? Could it potentially harness the all-power of love? More research will need to be done. But maybe, just maybe, my sweet Ragnora and I will one day find ourselves within its perils. Please call me back, Ragnora. I don't know how much longer I can do this.
I think Yerk the Tooth Salesman is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. We'll have to see how this robotic Tiggy appears as well. He's definitely an interesting addition or tweak to an existing character, an existing favorite, of course. Can't rig the Tig, after all.
Open up your eyes. We are being controlled. We're all just little freaky skin puppets dancing for the devil's delight.
What an intro.
On tonight's episode of Unanswered Oddities, Democracy. This long-forgotten sport saw multiple teams of the mythical humans vying for a singular grand prize, the illusion of control awarded by corporations. Democracy was originally meant to give power and choice to the population through free and fair elections, and it was also used to determine singing competitions. But over time, it developed into a farcical affair that forced humans to stop talking to their Uncle Ron. Today, we are of course under the singular rule of the all-knowing monolith, which graciously unburdens us from the crippling weight of choosing freely, making one wonder why humans would want to bear that weight themselves. Buildington, 3 doors down from Deedle. One Gloran looks to challenge the monolith to a game of democracy.
Hello,
a game of democracy.
My name is Furman Croat, and I am humbly asking to be your next overlord. Ever since I was a youngling, I've wanted to control a population, but I grew up in a working-class family, and populations were hard to come by. Now, our population has always been ruled by the monolith, but I think maybe it's time that we should let the Glorans choose. And I know a lot of you do not know me, so let me tell you what Furman Croat is all about. I believe in freedom for everyone, unless you look or act any different than me. I think black lights are cool, and I'd like to see more of that. I cannot spell. I've accidentally swallowed my own tongue on multiple occasions. I'm proudly afraid of buttons. I have plans. 2 of them. 1, I'm gonna increase the living out of violence. So vote for me, Furman Croat. Vote Croat, vote Croat, vote Croat.
If we are to believe the lore, the lost city of America supposedly loved democracy, and the way they played the game went something like this. Humans would first show up to a bunch of polls. There, they would cast a mallet from a phone booth, trying to hit either a donkey or an elephant. Whichever animal got hit the most would win a White House. It would have been something to see. Do I have to say it? It would have been quite the sight.
While aspects of the game might seem fun to some, others, including myself, have their reservations.
They took my memories, man. I can't remember like half my Do I like jelly? I don't know, it's sweet, but sticky on my fingers. And I'm telling you, I knew stuff like underground backroom, wet curtain party type stuff. And that information doesn't come free. You gotta put your lips in a lot of places for that info. I knew something important. It was something about the monolith. Come on, Tiggy, remember.
Tiggy, stay focused. We are talking about the system of democracy.
All systems break in the end, brother, because the system always takes power from the population. That's Tiggy 101, and you better believe I'll never forget that. And I just remembered I love jelly.
Jelly or not,
Yes.
game day had arrived.
Breaking news. With 0% of precincts reporting, we can officially declare the monolith the winner in what was an absolute landslide because voting is not allowed.
I graciously concede to my opponent and wish the monolith all the best. Will I be killed for my insubordination? Of course. But was it worth it? No, it was not. I wish I took that cooking class instead. I had a coupon.
The game of democracy is luckily a fable of the past, and while I try my best to remain completely objective on this program, I must say I'm glad to live under the glorious dark shadow of our monolith. And I know in my heart of hearts that the monolith has our best interests in mind. I mean, come on, would an evil entity sell me the super stylish hat that I look absolutely cool in and definitely not like I'm brainwashed? You decide. But not really, because democracy isn't allowed here.
Wow, that might be the best episode yet. Superb satire all the way through that. Wow, Tiggy made a remarkable comeback as well. Amazing writing on that. Good episode. Well done, guys. The channel Watch Mojo has been around for a long time. They've been doing various top 10 episodes of Brady Bunch. They've been around for a long time. They've been making shows like that. But recently, they've been delving into some unique territory, and I believe they've done maybe 5 or 6 interviews into the disclosure of non-human intelligence on Earth or otherwise. And it's such a unique departure from their normal content that it really has me on high alert. Like either they're aware of something or they're trying to push something. I'm not going to watch the entire podcast interview. Instead, I just got a summary here. I'm going to go ahead and read over it and get the general gist of what this interview is trying to claim here. So today's guest is Stephen Brown, PhD. Stephen is an associate professor of teaching philosophy at The Ohio State University, as well as the director of the Visible College, a volunteer group of scholars conducting and promoting serious research into UAP and related topics. But even if you have the most credentials in the world, I don't take anybody's word at face value. I don't think you should either. But I do enjoy at least hearing people out and considering their claims, just because I think that's important. I think it doesn't matter who somebody is. Somebody can bring a decent idea or contribution if you're willing to hear them out and be open to it. So let me give the rundown here of the takeaways on this interview. It was over an hour long, so we'll go through the rundown here. So on UAP disclosure, Dr. Brown became interested in UAP after hearing David Grush's whistleblower testimony about the U.S. government possessing non-human craft and biologics. He believes disclosure is inevitable, with the 2017 New York Times article marking the beginning of the process. That was obviously a big deal. It was very much downplayed and kind of just old news at this point. The U.S. government has been concealing UAP information since at least the 1940s, partly because admitting lack of airspace control would undermine government authority. Of course, that makes sense. Brown highlights evidence of continued government disinformation, citing Navy website materials that misleadingly connect U-2 spy planes to earlier UAP sightings. A documentary called The Age of Disclosure is coming to South by Southwest that Brown believes will be significant. Now onto the good stuff on non-human intelligence. Brown suggests NHIs have been interacting with humans throughout history, not just recent decades. He proposes a Star Trek Prime Directive scenario where advanced beings observe but limit direct interference with human development. Indigenous cultures worldwide have long acknowledged, quote, sky people and would adapt more easily to disclosure than Western materialist cultures. Absolutely. The term NHI is used instead of aliens because the phenomena may include interdimensional beings or other non-extraterrestrial entities. Yeah, it's something that we've heard about. Honestly, a lot of this has already been, claimed, but it's interesting nonetheless to get it reinforced here. Brown emphasizes we don't fully understand what we're dealing with. There could be multiple types of NHI with different motivations, of course. And really, to me, that would be what makes the most sense, because with how we're able to get little tidbits of information here and there, while we're never actively getting the full truth, it does seem like there are different forces, different powers, different motivations at play. Absolutely. Next up, on artificial intelligence and society. Brown sees a dangerous AI arms race developing between nations and corporations. He warns that unchecked AI development could lead to technological oligarchy, where power concentrates in the hands of few individuals. And this is something, I recorded a video for it. I believe it's probably going to come out before this one, so you may have already seen it. It's about the concept of AI taking over as our governing agent. So definitely check that out. I'll go ahead and card it or link it or whatever. Brown believes humanity faces a choice between a Star Trek-like utopia or a dystopian future ruled by tech oligarchs. He connects AI development with environmental degradation, suggesting that humans' irresponsible behavior may prompt intervention from advanced non-human intelligences. And I think that's another big one that's very likely. If there is this whole situation, if all of this is real, eventually, either, like I had mentioned just in the previous video, we are about to face this ultimatum, if you will, just a choice where we either evolve, ascend, or perish. And if we can't evolve and ascend to something bigger and better than what we currently are, then a non-human intelligence may need to come in and rip off that band-aid, if you will, whatever it's going to involve. Brown advocates for structural political changes, including deliberative democracy and ranked choice voting to better address these challenges. They talk about consciousness and psychic phenomena. Dr. Brown discusses evidence for telepathy, psychic abilities, and consciousness-based phenomena. It's definitely been known about. He references the telepathy tapes and research from the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia. He points to cases of children with past life memories who can identify people and places from those past lives with remarkable accuracy. Brown suggests that Western materialism has ignored data supporting these phenomena. Yeah. Brown argues that quantum mechanics and placebo effects already demonstrate the powers of mind over matter. Makes sense. Placebo effect is absolutely real. Here's what I was talking about earlier. Ontological shock. Brown describes ontological shock as the disruptive experience of realizing one's worldview is fundamentally wrong. Let's hear it. The Visible College serves partly as a support group for academics experiencing this shock. Society-wide ontological shock from UAP disclosure could have negative consequences if not managed properly. Is it the UAP disclosure that's gonna cause ontological shock though? I feel like it's more the concept that society has been hiding this gigantic lie for decades, and society and governments and so much has been a sham. I think that would be the bigger ontological shock. He suggests we need to prepare for this paradigm shift, especially in Western cultures. Brown believes this is comparable to the Copernican revolution, a fundamental shift in how we understand reality. So maybe this is what he's trying to sell here, or to kind of promote, is the Visible College, an informal group of academics and scholars studying UAPs and related phenomena. They focus on push for disclosure and preparing for its aftermath. I'm all for disclosure. I don't know if it's going to ever happen, but I think it's something that can really change society, potentially for the better. Show here this interesting post on Conspiracy Reddit. People who filter everything through politics are mentally captured. When anything comes up and you filter it through a political lens, they've got you. Your mind has been captured. The subject matter doesn't even have to be anywhere near politics, yet people make it all about their side of the aisle. Once again, you've been captured. Please prove me wrong. I agree. And this is so common and rampant through society, especially online. But that's not even necessarily the reason that I wanted to highlight this. I thought this was an interesting reply here. I'm convinced it's mostly bots, created and deployed to anger and keep the peasants more divided than ever. I don't hear a lick of politics with my family, friends, coworkers. Go literally anywhere online, politics. I mean, that's true. Although I will say my family is a little bit more, I mean, they're not super political, but they definitely have a preference on one side of the aisle, and it's not shy, but they're not exactly going to rallies for their supported individual. But nevertheless, the concept of it being bots trying to push an ideology, not only an ideology, but to push the concept that there are a lot of supporters for it, to keep it mainstream, to keep it alive. I think that is a fascinating concept. Scary and definitely reflective of dead internet theory to a certain degree, but fascinating nonetheless. I found another post here that kind of extrapolates a little bit further on my view of politics, but it does kind of support the same notion. Does anyone else feel like the entire world is just one big stage? It seems like everything, finance, news, politics, entertainment, education, is carefully manipulated behind the scenes to push people in certain directions. The constant division and distractions feel like part of a bigger plan, possibly to pave the way for a one-world government. But what if that's just the surface? What if the true objectives are something even deeper that only the people pulling the strings really know, which is entirely possible to me. I think the concept, to think it's as something as simple as just a one-world government, which they probably could have done by now if they really wanted, I think that's almost a too simple of a conspiracy. I think that's just too simple. But let's go on. Take global conflicts, for example. What if the major powers, the US, China, and Russia, are actually on the same team, orchestrating these conflicts to reshape the world map? The Russia-Ukraine war is portrayed as Russia versus Ukraine and NATO, but what if the real game is Russia, China, and the US working together to weaken Europe, making it easier to absorb into a larger global system? Even recent tensions between the US, Canada, and Mexico could be setting the stage for a unified North America, one government controlling the entire continent, making the final merge into a global system even easier. Is this all just conspiracy brain rot? Definitely an interesting concept, and it definitely extrapolates a little bit further on how I've expressed my thoughts on politics in general. It's always the same players behind closed doors. Good luck trying to convince the masses they've been fooled for generations. Because as the old expression goes, it's easier to fool someone than to convince someone that they have been fooled. It is about power and control. The more money one has makes it easier to control the rest of us. It has been the same for centuries. Look at Rome or the ancient Egyptians' ruling class controlling the masses. Everything, every little bit of it, past and present, feels fake and orchestrated. You get to a point where you truly view it all as one grand and evil performance. It seems like this should be liberating in a way, but it's not. It's depressing, not knowing if we can believe our own history. So that's a way to look at it, but I think the opposite could also be seen. You know, you could look at, oh, this is all just for mood, it doesn't matter. But you could also choose to think of it as an adventure that you get to choose. You get to experience it. You get to be the main character, and it's not main character in the sense of egotistical and self-centered, but we only have the perspective of one person. So of course it's going to be main character. But the point is, you can make what you want of your life and act as the main character. So it could be depressing if you look at it that way, but I choose to look at it as just I'm on one big grand adventure and it's a blast. We got New York Post exclusive. A private investigator has uncovered evidence that Trump shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks didn't act alone and was part of a, quote, criminal network. Was Trump shooter part of a larger conspiracy? Interesting. So there's many different theories roaming about with the whole Trump assassination attempt. And, you know, who knows really what happened. Realistically, it's either one of two options. Either this individual was working with a team, or we have just had one of the greatest blunders of Secret Service ever. It's either one is not good, but when I was looking through the comments, somebody had linked this here in response to somebody saying that the whole thing was fake and he had actually just slid a little bit in his ear and it was all just an elaborate scheme to get sympathy for his side. But somebody had linked this video here that allegedly shows the moment that it occurred and the bullet actually piercing through his ear. So we're going to take a look at that real quick.
I see something that said, take a look what happens. Take a look what happens.
Cercate aí.
So it definitely looks like there's a hole piercing his ear, but if the conspiracy goes so deep to have this be a huge fake, then I don't see why they wouldn't be able to falsify footage like this as well to cover it up. That whole thing is super suspicious, that whole event. And then you've got recently Joe Rogan was talking about CNN just so happened to be doing this streaming the live event in this tiny town in Pennsylvania. There are so many weird little things that go on around that whole event, so definitely strange. And then these assholes thought we were going to release the list. Yeah, basically. Another thread I want to take a look at, not even necessarily the thread itself, it's more so one of the top comments that caught my attention here. One of the many posts that are calling to attention the strange things that occur around 9/11 potentially. You're well aware of the situation, but somebody had a interesting comment that I thought was pretty provoking. 100% the war on terror was not fake because nothing happened. It was fake because the story we were sold was a cover for looting the world. It was never about protecting freedom. It was about securing oil, feeding the military-industrial complex, and building a surveillance state that they never planned to dismantle. The real conspiracy wasn't just inside job. It was turning war into a business model and fear into a product. Follow the money and you'll see who really won the war on terror, and it wasn't us. Bingo. Another thread here. You're being lied to. The U.S. is quietly reshaping the world order. The U.S. is making its move. Everyone's talking about Trump's new trade war, tariffs on Mexico, sanctions in China, tensions with Canada, the EU, and even Ukraine. But ask yourself, why all at once? Why pick fights with allies and enemies at the same time? The media says it's about America first and trade imbalances. That's bullshit. Something much bigger is happening. The real reason? The U.S. can't win under the old rules anymore. For decades, the U.S. dominated the world through trade agreements and global institutions, NAFTA, World Trade Organization, NATO, etc. But China is catching up too fast, and the rules the US created are now holding it back. Solution? Burn it all down. If the US controls all negotiations, it controls the world. To do that, it needs to crush anyone who would challenge it, allies included. Why is the US targeting its own allies? Mexico, Canada, and the EU aren't the enemy, but the competition. And the US doesn't want competition, it wants absolute leverage. This is why. The US is forcing Mexico into an economic crisis with new tariffs. The US is destabilizing Canada's economy with trade pressure. The US is threatening NATO allies while pushing for more control. They want every country desperate and isolated, so when it comes time to negotiate, the US holds all the cards. This is bigger than Trump. It's the end of the old world order. This isn't just about presidency or one trade war. The US is dismantling the global system it built to create a new one where it has total control. The question is, will the rest of the world let it happen? Mexico, Canada, and the EU could counter this by forming new trade agreements and cutting their dependence on the US. If they act fast, they can stop this before it's too late. If they don't, America will become the only power at the table. This isn't a theory, it's happening in real time. You're being distracted while the rules of the game are being rewritten. It's not a war between nations, it's a war between the elite backed by governments against the people. Final thread, conspiracy thread I came across that I wanted to share. Anyone notice how everyone is desensitized to the value of human life? I saw a few comments about the Ukraine war and how it's a win-win for us to send them old gear and build new stuff. The comments didn't really address the fact that people are dying, just, quote, Ukraine will run out of troops. These people did have names, families, and they were forced to go through horrific pain while dying in the worst ways imaginable. Most of them were young men who have never even had a girlfriend and never will because they're dead. But I feel like somehow these are just, quote, troops on Reddit, maybe because war movies and video games desensitized people. Somehow civilian deaths are worse, even though soldiers are people too. I understand they're men, so you've just been conditioned to be okay with them dying, but they are people. This has only been exaggerated with the divide between left and right and everything becoming so political. It has given people ample ammunition and reason for why people should and can be harmed. And it's to the point where you can see people glorifying it, and it's sad to see, A, that people are so hell-bent on the destruction of people, other people, and B, it's so glorified by others, and it's just a hot button topic, and it's crazy how we've gotten this way. It's absolutely crazy.
It seems I can't make a video without people comparing me to Robin Williams, and that man brings a damn tear of joy to my eye. I love him so much, man. So I'm gonna do a little Robin impression for y'all, okay? This is Robin Williams talking to me about swimming with the alligators. Let me see now, Pappy, you swim with the alligators. If you get attacked, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's a grand adventure. I don't know, man. Go easy on me. I'm just tired, man. I practiced a long time. The time has come for me to address these conspiracies about me. I'm sorry to say, but I am not Robin Williams, folks, man. I see all these damn comments, all these hilarious conspiracy videos, man, and it makes me giggle. But we all miss him a lot, man.
My son just had a birthday. Okay. Zach's 23. Zelda's...
Yeah.
Zelda's house.
Yeah.
Zelda's house. Lovely vineyard.
Yes.
A lovely comic wine.
Yeah.
5 tables. At one of the tables, there were 2 couples and a cat sitting eating dinner.
My heart is pounding. I'm scared out of my mind, but I'll tell you this. The odds of me getting attacked by a shark are bound, but I'll tell you this. The odds...
Met with Arnold. So I'm talking about that now. Basically, alternative fuel sources, most likely.
Move to the new city that you've been dreaming of. Take a risk. Take a risk. alright. Let me be me. Let me be Pappy, brother. I'm Pappy. I ain't Robin Williams. It's okay. And if you think I was Robin Williams, it's not your fault. My impression was too good. It's not your fault. It's okay. But please, man, let Robin Williams live in peace, man. He was a beautiful man. And let me be me. That's the beauty of it.
So apparently, people think that Robin Williams has faked his death and he is hiding his identity as a random YouTuber named Uncle Pappy. That's an interesting concept. That definitely makes me think of some more elaborate conspiracies like Bill Hicks being Alex Jones, and there's another common one that Michael Jackson is still alive and he's under a different identity and had massive surgery. Unfortunately, it's almost a little bit disrespectful for the memory of the people, but at the same time, it's also commending them because people enjoyed their contributions to the world enough that they're thinking of reasons to keep them around.
When you first watch this video, a lot of people might be tempted to think that this guy is simply overreacting. However, I'm here to tell you that he definitely is not, and this footage is a lot more tragic than you actually think. Now this clip, despite the fact that it's colorized, is actually quite old. It was recorded shortly after World War I ended back in 1918, and it shows an ex-World War I soldier. These people around him can first be seen unmasking his eyes, then somebody off to the side shows him a hat that's part of a World War I uniform. And immediately you can see this guy's emotion change. He gets very angry, stands up, and then he starts basically shaking in his boots. And what you guys just witnessed is something a lot of you have probably heard of before, shell shock. So the term shell shock was first used by the British back in 1915 in the middle of World War I, and it was used to describe this set of symptoms that soldiers got after being exposed to explosions from the massive shells and mortars. Medical professionals at the time noticed that after soldiers returned from trench warfare, a lot of them would have triggering events like looking at uniforms or hats, like the original video, that would cause soldiers to have an excessive amount of anxiety, start shaking, and in some cases completely lose coordination. On top of this, they realized that loud noises would also trigger a lot of these soldiers, and when they were undergoing one of these shell shock episodes, a lot of them you really couldn't speak reason into. Now, shell shock is not just a thing of the past that soldiers in World War I or World War II experienced. Soldiers nowadays and even civilians experience shell shock, but the name in the 1980s was changed to PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of the time when you hear this term, people are going to associate it with the military, but pretty much anybody can get PTSD from a traumatic event, such as a natural disaster, or even being young and not really having a good childhood. If you have time as well, there are also a lot of very haunting images of soldiers about to undergo one of these shell shock episodes. Typically, it can be marked by the 1,000-yard stare. This was also something that was very popular for some reason as a meme in 2024, but no, this is actually real and it is very serious. Behind me, you can see images of soldiers having this 1,000-yard stare, and it can be marked by the fact that they're really not focused on anything. They seem completely detached from the situation. In any event, for a lot of these soldiers in World War
I think you hit the nail on the head there. They're just detached from the situation and they're detached from reality in the only way that they can. They just mentally unhinge from where they are, and it's almost like the body goes on autopilot in just this strange way.
Because it had just become a recognized thing, treatment wasn't really there, and it definitely wasn't as good as it is now. Even today, shell shock, PTSD can cause a lot of problems for people, and it is just definitely something that you wouldn't want to wish upon your worst enemy.
On that note, I think we're going to call it right there. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to the absolute end of the video. You are a legend. I appreciate you very much. Much love, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Cheers.